Welcome back, everybody, to another episode of RPG Radio. We're playing some more Diablo 4, and this time we have got ourselves a druid build, and quite frankly, the only one that I enjoyed playing while the druid was up. But since tomorrow the game is kicking into early access again with the server slam, you'll be able to see some more druid action coming your way. I'm also going to do some necromancer stuff once I get some time with that class, but for the time being, this is what we got. The good news is the bear form, when you are playing the druid, is delicious in every way. And I'm just saying that in my out loud voice now, knowing that it was probably better off in my head. But you know what? We make those mistakes and we keep going. Anyway, the druid is a shapeshifter and an elemental mage in Diablo 4, much like its Diablo 2 counterpart, which had both the Werebear, the werewolf, and a whole bunch of elemental magic along that path as well. So, if you think that the sorcerer / sorceress are kind of Weenie Hut Jr., then the druid has everything that you need in the form of magic, and even more of what you want if you like big manly bear and wolf antics. But because this build is bear focused, we're going to be using some more earthen magic options. These are actually going to be pretty integral for keeping our resource bar all the way up and giving us some added defensive options on top of everything else. Because we're a bear, we're super tanky and super cuddly, obviously, because that's all I think of when I see a bear, and that's all that you should think of when you see a bear, unless you are a demon in Diablo 4, in which case you should think, oh my god, I'm about to get pulverized into demon pudding. Now, I am going to put a disclaimer on this video and this build specifically because I didn't get to farm all the gear that I wanted to like I did with my barbarian builds. I basically spent a whole weekend playing nothing but barbarian, and then when the following weekend rolled around, I split my time between barbarian, druid, and rogue. So it's a little bit cumbersome because we didn't get all the gear pieces that we need, but the skills still work very, very well together, and the gear that we do have is basically the exact stuff that we do need to make the Werebear deal as much damage as it can, with the exception of I think there are gear options out there that let you use your Werebear, your pulverize, and there's another ability on the earth magic side of things for the druid. What is it called? It's not upheaval. Landslide. That's what it is. I believe it will let you launch a landslide with your trample, which is super freaking cool to look at. But anyway, let's talk about them skills, because the Werebear build is pretty shapeshifty. It's got some magic in there, meaning that our basic skills are going to be twofold. Actually, we're going to pick up two of them. So we're going to take Earth Spike, number 1, and we're going to take Maul, number 2. Maul is your standard attack while in Werebear form, and Earth Spike is going to be your caster Earth ability while in human form. I know it might not make a lot of sense as to why would you want two basic attacks, but when you use either of these abilities while you are in one form or the other, they will shapeshift you back to the one that you are not in. So if you use your Earth Spike, you go back to human. If you use your Maul, you go back to Werebear. That is going to be important because there are other skills down the line that give us Spirit back, which is the resource for the druid, and you get that resource back by shifting in between Werebear and human. You could also get it to where you're going to get that by switching between human, werewolf, and Werebear, but I don't like the werewolf a whole lot as compared to the Werebear, so I just kind of axed it completely from you know, playing the druid. Maybe we'll change that once the whole game comes out, but as far as right now is concerned, Werebear only unless I'm a person. But we do want both the modifiers, or both the level 1 modifiers here, which are the enhanced Earth Spike and enhanced Maul. Enhanced Earth Spike has a 10% chance to stun for 2.5 seconds, which is super useful, and enhanced Maul is going to give you Fortify for 2% of your base life. If you remember, Fortify is basically like a shield. It's just going to, it's not a complete shield, but your life bar does go up for that 2%. It's basically overmaxing your health bar. Anyway, that being said, those two skills are pretty important for shifting in and out of Werebear and human form, so make sure that you get both of them. On the next side of things, we're down to our core abilities. We are going to dump all the points that we can into Pulverize. Pulverize is your Werebear Slam. It is the huge nuke button that we've got. You've seen it plenty of times in the video so far. It absolutely disintegrates enemies because of a lot of other things going on in the build, but you want to get the damage as high as possible as it is anyway, and you'll also want to take the enhanced Pulverize because your next Pulverize will overpower every 10 seconds while you remain healthy. So have a big health bar and then smash people with a big angry Pulverize that is overpowered. After that, you're going to take Raging Pulverize, meaning that enemies are stunned for 2 seconds when they are overpowered with Pulverize. So both of those things working in tandem incredibly well together, as was, I guess, designed. But yeah, if you remember Overpower from the Barbarian side of things, there is a very teeny tiny chance to do that overpower damage, but that damage is equal to your maximum health, as well as any health that you have fortified over that. So it is a gross amount of damage, and it's basically the one button that is going to deal damage in this build. The rest have their own type of damage, but we're really going to be looking at that Pulverize to carry us through. Now, moving it down to the next one, we've got defensive skills here in Earth Magic for Earthen Bulwark. We're just going to take 1 point there, as well as 1 point into Enhanced and 1 point into Innate Earthen Bulwark. What this does, when you press the button on a 16-second cooldown, a whole bunch of rocks surround you, and you get a barrier that is going to absorb 45% of your base life in damage. On top of that, Enhanced is going to make you completely unstoppable while the shield is up, and then Innate is going to it's going to actually give it a damage factor as well, so you let out a shockwave when your bulwark is up, or no, sorry, when it's taken down or when it expires, you get a shockwave that comes out from all sides. That damage is increased by your barrier bonuses, so if you get items that are going to increase the amount of that barrier, or any barrier that you use, they are going to help that one deal more damage. Not necessarily super important for the build, for that one to deal damage, but couldn't hurt. Now, the other thing you'll need on this tier are 2 of the passives. The first one being Ancestral Fortitude, which is going to give you a non-physical resist up by 5%, and then Vigilance, which is going to give you 5% damage reduction for 6 seconds after using a defensive skill, which means when you push that shield button, that 45% of your base life in shielding goes up, because the shielding, the damage done to the shield is going to be reduced. So it lasts longer, it's more useful, you see how it works, pretty easy stuff. The other thing on this tree, or on this tier of skill, is going to be a Debilitating Roar. This one is on a 22-second cooldown. It's a little bit longer than our shield, but it's going to let you reduce the damage of nearby enemies by 50%. And it's got a 4-second duration, meaning that In that time, you should be able to power up a pulverize pretty quickly. On top of that, you'll take enhanced debilitating roar, which means that you're also going to get a fortify on your base life for 22%, which again, if you have got a fully charged up, overpowered pulverize ready to go, it's going to do an obscene amount of damage coupled with debilitating roar. It's gross how well all this stuff works together. And these are just the base skills. This is no gear involved yet. Now, clarity is the next tier down. The next tier down is actually the pet tier, which I was thinking about factoring in with vine creeper for the root, but rather than doing that, I wanted to use those buttons for other things, so this is more important. This is one of the most important parts in taking those two basics from the beginning. You need clarity. Clarity gets all 3 points in it on this tier, and you're going to gain 6 spirit when transforming into human form. So that means that when you are a werebear pounding it out, absolutely pulverizing everybody, dealing your damage, you are going to run out of spirit relatively quick, because pulverize does, I think you only get about 3 of them per full spirit bar. So you have to switch back to human form to get that additional spirit back and get the bar filled back up so you can get back to pulverizing. The reason that we do that with Earth Spike is because Earth Spike is also going to generate spirit. It generates 8 spirits, and that means that when we transform back by using it, we're getting 14 spirit per transformation from werebear to human. And that's pretty good considering that you only have about 100 spirit in your magazine. So there you go. Next tier up is going to be our trample tier. This tier is, I think it's called Wrath. Yeah, looks like it's Wrath. Trample is your mobility tool. It's a very finicky mobility tool because you're mostly just going to be running forward. But with your big bear fangs out, it's still, I mean, it's the only movement option for werebear, right? But basically, when you trample, you become unstoppable. You're going to charge forward and knock back enemies. Enemies that get knocked back into terrain take additional damage and they get stunned. So, the stun is 3 seconds long, which is pretty good, but the hitbox and the way that this ability works is kind of wonky to make happen correctly. It's hard to aim, I guess is what I'm saying. But that being said, stunning and knocking back is still really important for this build. CC is important for any frontline build, I feel like. And when you take trample, you're also going to take enhanced trample to make it deal 30% bonus damage. The bonus is reduced by 15% for each enemy hit after the first, so if you want to trample into a singular enemy, they are going to take more damage from the trample in that way, but the more people that you hit after that are going to take reduced damage. I don't especially know why. I don't feel like trample is doing a really gross amount of damage or anything, but maybe the developers know something that I don't. Maybe you know something that I don't. Tell me in the comments below if I'm missing something that seems really special about trample, other than it being really cool looking and a good mobility option. Now, we made it down to the final tree, the ultimate part of things, and we're not actually going to take Grizzly Rage because it's not as good as you might think. So what Grizzly Rage will do is shapeshift you into a dire werebear for 10 seconds. You get bonus damage reduction, and the damage bonus is going to be increased for each second that you're in that form, meaning that the lower the duration is, the more damage you're doing, and killing people increases the duration as it is, so you can get a lot of damage out of Grizzly Rage. The issue with that is that since our build is always focused around pulverize, it's very hard to get your spirit back up to use pulverize while you're in Grizzly Rage, because your big spirit generator is going to be your transformation back to human form, as well as your earth spike. So if you can't shift back, if you can't hit that earth spike, you run out of spirit really quick, which is again like maybe 3 to 4 pulverizes. And that's really unhelpful because you're just reduced to trampling and mauling at that point. And it's not like those are bad abilities, but they don't have the same effect. So using Grizzly Rage over Threatening Roar is just kind of, I don't like it as much. I just don't like the way that the playstyle forces me to do that. And since Grizzly Rage is an ultimate, it's got a 60-second cooldown, and that makes me feel even more gross. So I'd rather have those quick buttons, these big pulverizes, and the enough spirit in my spirit bar to absolutely obliterate people when the time comes. So instead of taking Grizzly Rage, we're going to pick up Defensive Posture instead. That's going to increase the amount of Fortify that you gain from all sources by 5%. Since this is only early access, I can only put 1 point in there, but when you get 3, I believe that goes up to 15%, making it even more gross as far as damage is concerned for your fortified, overpowered pulverize. It is super synergistic with the rest of the build. So, that said, all of the skills, pretty simple. They look like they all go together. If you want to play Werebear / Earth Magic Druid, that is the best way to do it, I think. Now, the other important part of this is going to come down to some of the gear. The horrible, sad truth of Pulverize is that it does not start out with a shockwave, and it does not start out with the ridiculous amount of damage that we can get with this build. The shockwave is pretty important for clearing out big mobs at range, because normally Pulverize is relatively short and you have to be in kind of melee range to make that happen. But what you're going to be looking for is the shockwave aspect, and that is going to help your, that's going to make your Pulverize launch a shockwave that deals anywhere from 90 to 130% of its damage in the path. So no matter what happens, your Pulverize is generally dealing the same amount of damage it's doing, even if it's not. Oof, man. Shava just taking me out with the tip of the dick there. Ooh, that's embarrassing. Don't look at that. If you saw that, skip it. Don't tell me about that in the comments. Exactly. Forget it ever happened, because it never happened. I'll be honest with you, Druid was a lot harder to do this fight with than Barbarian. Barbarian had so much mobility and just movies that it felt so impossible to die doing a Shava with the Barbarian. But Druids are different. So anyway, Shockwave aspect means that your Shockwave is going to do the same amount of damage that your regular close-up Pulverize is doing, and that's just good. I mean, that's perfect for what we want, because it's doing more damage, hitting more people, getting them rooms cleared. Now, the next one up is well, we've got boots. So boots are going to be the ballistic aspect, and this is when you have Fortify, your earth skills gain +2 ranks. I'm really gonna die again. No, we're just gonna slam potions. Damn. But when you have Fortify, which we usually do, because Maul is very good at getting us clear. Oh my god, we're dead again, huh? No! Plenty of potions. Gotta knock her down another triangle, though, and play very careful. Man, that sucks. I had to burn them all there, and we don't have a lot of health. Maybe we'll just die and come back. Maybe that'll be quicker. But the +2 ranks to your Earth skills is really important, because Earth Spike, with more points in it, is going to deal more damage, which isn't necessarily a bad thing, right? It's your main spirit generator, so you want it to do as much as it can. But your shields with your Earthen Bulwark is going to be increased as well with those ranks, And seeing that it's a shield, it's protecting your fortified life, they're helping each other out. I mean, that's the best I can say. It's +2 ranks into earth skills. Wow. I can't not get hit by those with the druid, where with the barbarian it was just like, hop away, see you later. Anyway. Sorry, don't pay attention to the thing on the screen. Pay attention to my voice. Listen to me as I get hit by yet another punch. Aspect of the protector is your pants. And for the rest of everything, helmet, chest, gloves, I really didn't find anything that was particularly great. A lot of this is kind of the easy to find epics or easy to dismantle epics. So I didn't think they were really super worth it mentioning in the build, but I think one of them built up core skill damage after so much time or so many attacks. Don't quote me on that, but if you find something like that, it would be really helpful because pulverize is a core skill. You want pulverize to deal as much damage as possible. But as for aspect of the protector, damaging an elite enemy is going to give you a barrier that absorbs so much damage, and this can only happen once every 30 seconds. Because those big mobs are going to be the most livable things that you run into, you do want to have that barrier to protect your fortified life, which in turn protects your overpower damage. It's just generally a good idea to have a shield on top of a shield on top of a fortify. It works. Rapid aspect is our amulet. This is just going to increase the attack speed of our basic skills, which is super important as well because, again, generating spirit is good, and we need that on both Earth Spike and Maul. Mangled aspect is our first ring, and that's when we get struck as a werebear, we have a 20 to 30% chance to gain 1 spirit. We get hit a lot, we're big, we're tanky, we're frontlining. It's not a bad thing to have. It's also one of the few werebear things that I could find in, wow, just absolutely obliterated for the 3rd time. My god, Ashava just taking my ass down. This build is not great for big bad bosses. So, as you can clearly see, we were eviscerating the mobs, even elites, in the stronghold taking back in Nostrava. But when it comes to Shava and the world boss fights, things get a little bit more hairy. I think it's probably because this build wasn't fully, optimized for what we were doing. I think there are other ways that it could have been better that would have made me at least live longer, but I didn't, again, get to farm as much gear as I wanted to, so we just we got what we paid for, essentially. Yeah. So anyway, the mangled aspect, you can get that through a dungeon. You don't have to go searching for that, so if you want to go pick that up, you can. If not, if you find a better ring, it could be worth it. Accelerating aspect is the last ring that we've got, and that is crits with your core skills are going to increase your attack speed by 20 to 40% for 3 seconds. Attack speed's only important for those base skills, and it doesn't require any more explanation than I've already provided. So it's a little bit sad that this build didn't get the gear that I really wanted it to have. Because I know there is gear out there that exists that makes the Werebear really sick, but I just didn't happen to get anything other than the pulverized gear. So anyway, I'll be playing this some more. I do want to play around with some other builds with the Druid in the upcoming Server Slam, so we'll be doing that. And at least for the time being, that's it for the builds in this video. Let me know what you think. Let me know in the comments below, and I'll see you guys later. Peace out.